Hey, number ones, welcome to Metatron's Academy. Look what I found. So I found this video which is titled I did Duolingo for 2000 days, can I speak Spanish? And it's from the channel Ivan Edinger, which has 824,000 subscribers. And if we have a very brief look at his channel, looks really cool. And it does have, I believe, how much language content does it have? Probably more like a variety channel, I suppose. But it's not the first time he speaks about Duolingo. Anyways, let's check him out.
After 2,000 days on Duolingo, can I speak Spanish? Short answer, yes, with some caveats. Let me show you. This is my current streak on Duolingo. That's over...
Holy moly, 3,138 day streak. Man, respect.
3,000 days, but the first 1,000 days of that were actually learning German, which I've made many videos about on my YouTube channel over the years, including one full video in German and hopefully a second one coming next week in German, of course with English subtitles. But every day for the past 2,000 days, I've spent slowly but surely learning Spanish using only Duolingo. With German, I had got...
Using only Duolingo? Well, to be honest, I think it's not a good idea. Now, if he's doing it as a social experiment for his channel, I think good, great. Then I absolutely support that because it's a fantastic test and he's pretty much being our test subject in a way. And so I do appreciate that for data collection and analysis as something that I would not recommend anyone to do that.
Gotten to the point where I was using a lot of other resources. I was reading German books, watching TV shows, listening to music. But this time around for Spanish, I have not done that. In fact, for the past 4 to 5 years, I've been learning exclusively on Duolingo, mostly to test out naysayer claims that say you can't do that. Well, sorry guys, I have. Will my Spanish be perfect? Absolutely not. But
will my Spanish be perfect? Doesn't matter really. Your Spanish won't be perfect, just like English is not perfect. Just like whatever second language, third, fourth, fifth language that you learn. Perfection is it's never the goal. Fluency is the goal. So I would say, in fact, that for the majority of people that say, I want to tackle language learning, I want to learn another language. 90% of these people, what they mean by that is that they want to learn how to speak it in order to be able to communicate, because either they have an interest in the culture, in the language, in the people, in the nation, in the country, what have you. And only a fragment of those would be like, no, I don't care if I can understand people during a conversation. I don't care about expressing my thoughts. I just want to learn how to translate because I want to become a translator. It's a very specific career choice and path. But in the majority of cases, people want to learn to be fluent. Only doing that with Duolingo, you never interacted with a native. I don't know how good your Spanish is going to be. Unless you're already so good as a language learner that you found a way to make it work.
It will be very interesting to see where exactly my shortfalls are, to see how far Duolingo alone has taken me. I want to show you what my lessons look like at the moment, and I'm really excited to tell you about a 20-minute conversation I had this past week in Spanish, in Berlin of all places, all coming up in this video. So, let's go. My name is Evan Edinger, and this is part 1 of a 2-part series on Duolingo. The second video coming out in a few weeks goes into detail about my current tips and tricks for how to get the most out of the app in 2025. But for now though, I just want to show you how far I've come. This right here is where I'm currently at in my Duolingo path, near the tail end of section 6. According to Duolingo, I should just about be able to start learning at a B2 level under the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, or CEFR.
All right, okay, that's good that you're putting us in this. Very nice. Well, let's see where he feels he is instead.
If I were fully at a B2 level Spanish, I'd be able to communicate in sentences like this. In 1755, Lisbon was destroyed by an earthquake and a fire, but later it was reconstructed or rebuilt with a modern architectural style.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, that's a B2. I say that as a former examiner for City and Guilds of London. By the way, I'm very familiar with it. He's correct.
In Spanish, this reads, En 1755, Lisboa fue destruida por un terremoto y un incendio, pero luego fue reconstruida con un estilo arquitectónico moderno. Can I understand this sentence? 100%. Could I communicate this way? Well, I mean, I've got the building blocks. It's all about putting them together. At this level, I can have practical conversations, but I'm still far from native level fluency found in the C levels of the framework. It's a point
Absolutely.
Where you can feel confident speaking, but there's still a lot to learn. As in life. For context, if I were at an A2 level of Spanish, which is a bit more elementary, I'd communicate like this. I was born in New Zealand, but now I live in Osaka. I have lived in Osaka for 5 years.
Yeah, sure, good.
So the sentences and the grammar are less complex, more basic, but still understandable. Since starting the Spanish module on Duolingo, I have personally witnessed my Spanish progress from the early statements in the A1 section to the more advanced ones later in B1. Through constant repetition and practice within the app, I acquired the building blocks for advanced sentences and developed a sense where I can just sort of feel what words I'm meant to use. Not always, but a lot of the time. For example, if English was your first language, it's probably the case where no one had to tell you that an apple is correct and a apple is wrong. Same with an hour or an excuse to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You've just heard it enough times that you can just sort of
That was smooth, man. Appreciate.
hear, a apple is wrong. Now, a popular comment made online is that Duolingo is too basic. It only teaches you vocabulary, and one can't really learn a language simply matching words with your finger on your phone. And you know what? I actually would agree with that final point.
Yeah, sure, me too. I don't know if it's too basic because there is some advanced grammar in there, like sentences. So I don't know if Duolingo is too basic in terms of sentence structure and syntax and whatnot. But surely, I personally think that what Duolingo is lacking in is absolutely native interaction. Because when you start interacting with natives, problems such as the one you just mentioned, apple, an apple, when you hear a native and you repeat and you create a sort of an experience that then is stored in your memory as an experience, possibly positive, sometimes even the negative ones, at least you can remember the words. That's how you build confidence and actual repertoire when it comes to the vocabulary you have access to that you need during a conversation, presentation in front of a camera, what have you. So it's not that I don't say that Duolingo is a waste of time. I think Duolingo can be a Duolingo, I always mispronounce it. I think Duolingo can be a good tool to have, but you have to complement it with native interaction, speaking, experiencing the language, watching full-on movies, and doing everything else really, and all the other things that allow you to optimize and maximize the amount of time you spend into the learning of that language.
But that point is assuming that advanced Duolingo lessons are the same as the basic ones. The app starts you off with these very basic challenges to help build confidence and, realistically, as is their MO, build consistency. So you keep coming back to the app with these.
Building consistency is actually a very good thing to do. Consistency is the key to fluency, 100%.
Little wins. But as you progress, so do the complexity of the exercises. True. So if you're someone in the early stages on the app wondering what it's like later, how advanced do the exercises get, or if you're just interested to see how it all works and or how my Spanish is, well, let me show you a lesson or two where I'm at. I'm gonna try and show you a standard lesson, meaning they're going to be teaching me new words and concepts that I haven't yet been taught in the app, as well as one of the listening only sections that focuses more on listening comprehension. Also, a story for good measure, just to see how those stories have been developing. All right, so we have Talk About Jobs, lesson 2 of 6.
Lo más importante era llegar temprano a la oficina.
For the record, usually I just skip the section where I can hear him talking because I don't feel like I need that. Lo más importante era llegar temprano a la oficina. A lot of times as well, it will actually trigger as if I've gotten it right just before I finished. I'm like, excuse me, don't cut me off, thank you.
Los astronautas tienen distintas profesiones.
These exercises right here, I can't see anything. I have to listen and repeat. These are actually quite new as of this year and are really exciting. I like new
That's actually a good idea, yes.
ways of learning.
Los astronautas tienen distintas profesiones.
Los astronautas tienen distintos profesiones. Los astronautas tienen distintos
Yeah, she did say astronautas. But whatever, yeah, he's doing well.
Profesiones. Los astronautas tienen distintas profesiones.
Yeah,
Lo
now he did it
interesante
right.
es que
Good.
todos quieren colaborar.
Lo interesante es que todos quieren colaborar. I do.
Yeah, I personally don't like the fact that they sound very robotic. I'm afraid that's not going to help language learners to really acquire a good pronunciation. You don't have to sound like a native. A lot of people can't sound like natives. I don't sound like a native when I speak English. With that being said, pros and cons really. There are positive things you can say about Duolingo and negative things you can say about Duolingo.
Repeat all the exercises out loud just because that's extra practice. Why not?
No, that's actually what you have to do. I'd like to stress this point. It's not that I'm disagreeing with him, nor his presentation and personal experience. I'm very happy that he could improve his Spanish using Duolingo. And I appreciate the fact that he did a little bit of a test, if you will, social exercise. But I have to underline that if you don't repeat it out loud, you are wasting your time completely. If you want to learn how to speak, you've got to speak. It's as simple as that. You have to speak it out. You have to repeat it out loud.
I'm on the tube because I don't want to be a pariah. Lo interesante, the interesting thing is that everyone wants to collaborate. with my YouTube channel. Send me an email, guys. Everyone wants to collaborate. Ding dong.
Lo más.
So it's obviously más. I'm speeding through.
Se supone que trabaja como detective.
Detective. Oh, see, here we go. It's detective. Detective.
Yeah.
Supposedly, he works as a detective.
Lo más importante.
Sorry, guys. Lo más importante es preguntar si no sabes algo. The most important thing is to ask if you know something. If you don't know something. Detectives can earn a good salary. So many fun words like this.
Okay, cool. Let me skip around a little bit. So it's showing us all the lessons. If you want to click the link in the description or in the pinned comment to go check out the full video in the original channel. All right, what Duolingo Spanish story looks like B1. Okay, what a listening comprehension exercise looks like on Duolingo. How to get the most out of Duolingo. Okay, let's watch this section. I'm more interested in this one.
Not bad, right? Well, I hope so. I'll be going over this section in more detail in the next video in this series with more actionable tips for those using the app. But I'd say from my experience, progression in the language and overall comprehension has a sort of multiplier effect based on the amount of time you spend learning, in my case within Duolingo. What I mean is some days you just don't have a lot of energy. That's normal. You might find it's 11:30 p.m. and you begrudgingly open the app just to maintain your streak and you do one 2 to 5 minute lesson, or maybe you just do a speaking exercise that requires the least amount of brain power and can be done in under a minute. Obviously, that's not going to help you progress that much. I've had many of those days, sometimes a week, sometimes it's 2 weeks long.
I appreciate the honesty, mate.
Where I'm just like, it can't be arsed. And I can never pronounce that right way. My British brain's like, arsed? I can't be arsed.
She moved to England and she picked up this fake British accent.
Arsed? I can't be arsed.
I feel like a perfect arse.
And those are the times where demotivation really kicks in the most because I'm not actually progressing that much. I can tell. And it's a vicious cycle where I know I'm not learning much. I can feel that. It means everything is just more difficult. My brain's not thinking in Spanish as often. And I just get way more frustrated when I'm wrong. However,
I do believe that that's also a side effect of continuing to use the same tool in order to try and improve your language skills. It is a side effect of that because unfortunately we get bored, and the only way to avoid getting bored when you're trying to learn a language is to switch it up. If you do what he did, which I don't think he's trying to tell you to do, but if you do what he did, you are not optimizing at all. Like you're making it harder on yourself. So do use Duolingo together with other 7 different ways to practice the language. That's going to be 10 times more effective as a method, as a study method.
Days where I prioritize ensuring I do 15 to 30 minutes of learning a day really multiplies the effect of that time.
Sure.
I find my mind way more in a Spanish space where I'm more able to quickly understand new concepts of grammar and vocabulary excitedly. I go from saying, why did I get that wrong? To, why did I get that wrong? It's a very tiny tonal shift, but for me, a lot of the times it comes down to just making time for learning using Duolingo in the morning as opposed to finding time for using in the evening. It brings me back to why I started using Duolingo over 8 years ago. At my full-time job, I had an hour-long lunch break and I wanted to use some of that time productively to work on myself, as at the time, I was just
Very, very respectable.
using my lunch breaks to play Smash Bros with my coworkers, which, to be fair, is the only reason I've actually won so many tournaments, but that's only impressive with
I actually take it back. You should play games. Just play them in the original language.
a very small niche of people. The idea of putting in 15 minutes a day into learning a language
Should I say target language?
and having that actually work over a long period of time was a very exciting concept to me, especially because it wasn't just that lunch break I had. I also commuted an hour to and from work, and so what else was I going to do with that time? Waste it on social media? Might as well do something productive, and I found good success with that. It kind of works similarly to the 1-minute rule for habit forming, like in the book Atomic Habits, where James Clear explains the hardest part of
Oh, this is very interesting.
any habit is simply showing up. He suggests committing just 1 minute of effort because once you start, it's just so much easier to keep going. It's like kinetic versus static friction. The trick is convincing your brain that all you need to do is just do 1 minute, right? Just open the app, just start one exercise, or spend a single minute doing
I love this. Actually, this is very good advice.
whatever thing you're trying to get into a habit of doing. However, the thing is, after you do spend that minute, you might as well just keep going, right? You're already got momentum going. You might as well just do another lesson. It's that hard part of
I think it also helps with not forgetting because, you know, a lot of routine building, some of the problems you face are the fact that you forget it because it still hasn't become a routine, right? So you want it to become a routine, whether it be studying a language or doing some push-ups every day or every other day or whatever it is. Oftentimes you forget, but then that's why I think it's really good, the idea of, no, I've just got to do it even if it's just a minute, so that you build a memory. And then the memory sort of reminds you that there is a commitment, and it's very good, yeah.
Starting. So if you can trick your brain into doing that, get your brain out of the way, just start a little bit, you'll find yourself learning a bit more. And that's kind of been my experience with Duolingo in general. Obviously, not every single time I log into the app and learn something is going to be groundbreaking, but it's showing up every single day and getting those consistent tiny wins that add up to getting those bigger breakthroughs. Not just, like I said.
Yeah, I agree with him in the sense that it may be a good way to build that routine. So that's definitely something that can help you out. So if you get into this idea of, I don't want to break my streak, which is, it is a form of mental manipulation if you really want to look at it, but at least it's in your advantage. So you want to go into, I don't want to break the streak. So you start your 2 minutes of Duolingo, but then since you remembered, right, that, okay, now I'm sitting down, I'm doing Spanish, Mandarin, Japanese, English, Italian, whatever it is, and then you're like, well, you know what, I did my Duolingo, how about I try and watch something like 5 minutes or a show in the language to practice my listening abilities, or then maybe I try to chat with my friend who speaks it with me, or perhaps I can try and do something else, learn a new rule, or hey, let's pick 5 new words for today. It could help you build that, and it is indeed, that's the hardest thing to do, is to build that routine. See his conclusions.
Satisfying feeling. All right, so where are we at then? Well, for my definition of fluency, conversational fluency, of being able to communicate in Spanish using little to no English, I'd say I'm there now. Yes, I'm making mistakes, and no, I'm absolutely nowhere near the C1 or C2 level of advanced native fluency. But for me, to be able to understand and be understood in a foreign language of my choice is my threshold for fluency. And I'm just
Congratulations, man.
really excited, not only about the fact that I'm here now, but that I have so much more to learn. There's no reason for me to feel like, oh, that's it. Fluency is a spectrum. So many things these days are a spectrum. And that's why the whole CEFR framework is cool. You can have conversations with people at A1, A2, B1, B2. Obviously, it gets more and more advanced, but it's so exciting to be able to see the progression and find yourself being successful in this thing that you've been putting in little bits of time for over so many years. At some point, I think it'd be a really fun idea to take an official test to like rank where my Spanish is, seeing where the weak spots are. And I'm almost tempted to wait until I finish the entire
That's actually what I did with my English. How many years ago now? I'm not sure I want to say it.
Duolingo path at the end of the B2 section before doing that, especially as I said, outside of the basic Spanish I learned in the American public school system. I made an entire video about that there. As an adult, I've been 100% just using Duolingo. So it'll be really fascinating.
Okay, so you did have at least a very basic understanding or preparation in the language before you started. That's an important aspect I would have added for context.
To see how I do on that test, given my circumstances. So to succinctly answer the title, can I speak Spanish with 2,000 days of Duolingo? I would say yes, but also, important to note, I probably would have said the same thing at 1,000 days, albeit at a much lower level. I'm not really a gatekeeper. I'm a gate opener, okay? So no matter where you are in your language learning journey, the one thing I hope you can take away from this video is this. Learning language is not a race. Don't let someone bully you because you're slow and steady, you're learning. If you're just using some spare time you've got in your day to figure out a language, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. Sure, yeah, if people, I don't know why someone would try and bully you to that, but regardless, maybe don't bully yourself, absolutely. If you are progressing, that's all that matters. With that being said, I do believe that it's important to also try to optimize your time, precisely because people don't have a lot of time, right? So if you're not like a full-time student like I was at university, and you can't dedicate 8 hours, 10 hours a day into the learning of whatever language or languages that you are targeting, and you only have 1 hour, because you're busy, you need to work, you need to take care of your family, the kids, then I think it is important to try and optimize that hour so that because you don't have so much time, you can progress and reach fluency and your personal goals faster and with less effort as well. And definitely just doing Duolingo is going to do the opposite. So he proved that in his own experience, he could reach a certain level of conversational level in his target language by putting 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours, though, it's a lot. So I do believe that even though I'm grateful that he did this, if he'd put half those hours, 1,000 hours, but doing it not just with Duolingo, but in Duolingo, but in the most effective way, he would probably be an advanced learner, like he would be a C1. So there is that. But thank you, sir, for sharing your video. And as you know, I purposely skipped a few sections to encourage people to click the link in the description and go give him a like and a view. So as always, thank you so much for watching, noble ones, and I will see you tomorrow for the next daily upload. Goodbye.